Hi, Leather Rokk here. Welcome to my channel. This is my freshly dyed purple hair, and if you want to see how I did it, stay tuned. Hi, Leather Rokk here, and this is Cassie, my grouchy little cat. Welcome to my channel. Tonight, I am putting my purple back in, and you guys are going to watch me do it. While Cassie is leaving my room, I'm going to wash my hands, and let's get started. I hope you can hear me fine. I have a fan on my immediate right. It is a Friday night, and even though I called the cops an hour ago, there have been a succession of ne'er-do-wells doing what they do best and with their music soundtrack, and I really hope we don't have any bleed through onto the audio. I'm going to put my gloves on. I have all the suitable dye that I could scrounge up. Oh, and great. You know, it's a funny thing. I brought 3 gloves over just in case. So, tried to find Tabby Boy for this, and he really has a sixth sense for when I'm about to film. He's like, no, I don't think so. And once I got my gloves on, I'm not going to be wanting to grab cats. Oh. Iced tea mix. Now this is what I am considering using for my eyebrows when this is all done. This is a permanent purple Excellence High Color Violets, and the color is True Violet. But the thing is, if it's more like this, I don't know. I don't think I could ever expect to get an adequate dye color that would eliminate the need to wear brow makeup, though, to tell you the truth. The first thing I'm going to do is section off some of my hair, and since the only clips I have teeth on them and they always snag my hair off, so I'm going to, because the first part of the hair that I'm going to do is going to be what's going to be framing my face, and I want to make sure that that is easily set aside from the rest of my hair. And you know what? I bet I dropped one of my you know, you can easily make bands to tie up your hair using the edge of an old pair of socks. So if you would like to have scrunchy type things to tie your hair back, before you throw out your wholly worn out socks, see what you can salvage from them. Things like this won't snag your hair the way metal implements will. Now this technique is not necessary if you're just using one all over dye, but if you're using a bunch of similar shades of hair dye, it's really good to section things off first. That way when you have different colors of hair, the dye doesn't rub off onto other pieces of hair that can muddy up your results, depending on how close these colors are together. If they're all in the same family, you probably won't notice something like that. But if they're higher contrast colors, then you're definitely going to want to keep them separated. Oh, does the mirror look better to you? I got some vinegar and I wiped this down. It's not 100% perfect, but it's so much cleaner than it was. The only thing is I didn't use newsprint to keep it a dust-free finish. I just used the piece of skirt that I used to wash it with. So I can't forget about this. You know what? I better cover that because something about this dye, I think it does a better job on the skin than it does on the hair. I'm a little concerned about this dye. This is my favorite of the dyes I'm about to apply, but it is expanded. And that can often mean bacterial growth. But you know what? I'm not going to worry about that for this. I really love this color. But the thing about these very fluid dyes, you don't get the control that you get with the dyes in the jars that are not going to run on you. But a nice thin dye like this, it saturates the strands of the hair very nicely, as opposed to the paste dyes that you've got to really rub in. But you must be very careful. Now, I could have put this in a bottle, but those squeeze bottles, it ends up a lot of the dye stays in the squeeze bottle. And there's nothing quite like having the control of something in your hand. I hope you guys can see what I'm doing here. You can do things like this, put the pool of dye in your hand and get it in this way. Dyes like this I refer to as having like a pancake syrup consistency, but a very thin syrup though. This is going to make me hungry. This is making me think of that boysenberry syrup that you can get at IHOP. I think it's just, And I haven't had that. I haven't been to an IHOP, oh, in a long time. Or Denny's. I don't remember whether it's IHOP or if it's Denny's that has the boysenberry syrup. There was one time, oh, I could do it. Oh, should I do a story time while I'm dyeing my hair? I will. I'm gonna do a story time about LSD. I was at a Denny's, a rock and roll Denny's in Hollywood, California. And, well, since this involves LSD, okay, uh, a lot of times people have parties and you will be partying all night and you will go out for breakfast afterwards. And the party happened to be at this wonderful dance place I danced at called the Ivar Theater. And I guess it had to be a Friday or Saturday night, and I forget how late they were open. I think maybe 4 o'clock, something like that. And Denny's, at least then, this Denny's was open 24 hours a day. And we called it the Rock and Roll Denny's because it was on the Sunset Strip. It was closest to the clubs. And a lot of times after the clubs let out, all the rock and roll people would go to this Denny's. So I'd been working a very fun day and night at the Ivar, and one of my buddies happened to have some acid, asked me if I would like some, and the answer to anything was usually yes. So I'm enjoying my trip, and some friends of mine said, hey, we're going to Denny's, would you like to go? And I said, yeah, and it was only wasn't too far a walk, so we walked, because you don't drive on LSD. And I sat down to have my pancakes, and I distinctly saw the pancakes breathing in and out, in and out. At the time, there was a breathing medicine called neosynephrine that was advertised on TV, and the commercials showed it breathing in and out to drive home the point that helped you to breathe. But I watched the pancakes breathing. So, yeah, that's my little... And I mean, it didn't scare me or anything because obviously, since I knew I was on acid, I knew to expect psychedelic little things. And it did not detract from my wonderful breakfast. Oh, and if I haven't mentioned my favorite way to eat pancakes is butter, salt, and pepper, and Tabasco sauce. And this is not something I discovered on LSD. I just happen to really love Tabasco. And I love good pancakes. And pancakes, incidentally, I seem to have a block on. I don't seem to have the gift for getting them just right. I know that the mixes usually tell you to put too much water in and you end up with a very, very thin batter and it doesn't get nice and light and fluffy. But there's not too many things that I tried cooking that I love that I can't master, but pancakes are one of them. I'm so afraid I'm going to spill this. I really should have put it in a bottle. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and get that bottle so I can avert a disaster. Now this is Ion Color Brilliance Bright Semi-Permanent Cream Hair Color, and the color is called, oh, no, I can't read it right now. I'll tell you afterwards. But looks like toothpaste, and this should be a lot easier to apply. Once again, it looks to me, looking at the monitor, it looks blue, and this is not purple. None of these dyes are blue. I wish I'd thought about the fact that using anything to tie your hair up to section it off because you're dyeing your hair would mean that you would end up staining your hair tie before using my nice green tie, because it's going to take a lot of washings before this dye gets out of it. Another thing you have to be careful of, wet hair will stretch, and it's very easy to break it. So you have to be very careful when your wet hair gets tangled in things, which is very hard to prevent happening. As you can see, I've got a bunch of hair tied. Oh, well. Oh, well. Oh. One thing that I recall about this particular tube dye, as beautiful as it looked out of the tube, it wasn't as vivid as I would have liked. I'm going to have to cut these tubes open the way I had to cut this open so that I don't end up wasting anything. Look at all this dye that's in here that you would otherwise not be able to get out. In a way, every year the price of dye keeps on going up. I need another mist. Punky Colors Plum. And this smells like grape. And this is a nice paste dye. This won't run. If I had to use only one hair dye, I suppose I could use this. I really prefer the dye job I get by getting these big pieces of different colors in. And I go for a roughly symmetrical look, but it's not perfect. And depending on how I part my hair, you see different gradations of purple. And I've been doing this for a long time. It just makes more sense. It has a more interesting look when you have more variations of color in it. I'm really wearing it today. Oh. Can you guys see behind me? You know what? I'm going to get the second opinion of somebody else and find out what I may have missed. Looks like I've done getting the dye on me. And hopefully you don't have any dye on you. A little tiny bit won't hurt. I'll put you down. So, I don't know if this is going to be my sign off or if I'm actually going to do the sign off of the dye when I rinse it out. But I'm probably going to do the sign off when you see the actual thing. But this is all the dye covered me. Now I'm going to put plastic over my head. I'm going to wash my face. And I am going to get ready and go to sleep. And when I get up in the morning, if I think the timing has been enough, I'm going to rinse this out and wash this out, and I'm going to start my day. But boy, we do wear a lot of dye, don't we? Okay, just so you see what a challenge it is to scrub your skin clean. Look at what I did to my arms. If it was not as hot as it is, I would normally wear a long sleeve that I have specifically to collect hair dye so that I don't get all the staining on my arms like this. And of course, cleaning off the dye on the face is a real challenge also because you don't want to risk wetting the hairline. So a lot of this is going to have to be done in the shower tomorrow, but I have to allow for full timing so that the heat from my scalp can make this color soak in really well. And it will. Here is the finished product. What do you think? 4 different shades of purple, blended, and this is how it came out. If you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you like me and my content, I'd love to have you subscribe. When you do, hit that bell so you make sure you don't miss anything. Till then, talk to you soon. Join me on my adventures. Bye.